Good afternoon, Management 3130. This video doesn't relate to a session in the syllabus. Rather, it's a discussion about your final exam. I've decided on the format and a number of other things, and I want to share that with you. So I don't think this will be long, maybe 12 or 15 minutes. So I think I told you that it's going to be some sort of an essay test. What I've decided on is your test will have two questions. And the reality is both questions are going to be uniquely personal. Now, I'm going to develop a grading rubric, but my grading is going to be largely a function of how well you present your position or your argument. Quality of your writing, the clarity of your logic and thinking and that sort of stuff. It's not going to be in any way judgmental. I don't have to love, hate, agree, or disagree with anything you say. So let me tell you the two questions, and then certainly for one of them, I'll give you an example because it is a non-traditional question, and I get that. So the first question is going to literally say, probably just 3 or 4 words, 3, what defines you? Please understand that verb defines is what's operative. I have no interest in what describes you. I don't care if you're a great dancer. I don't care if you scored 1,200 points when you were a high school basketball player. Those things describe you. They don't define you. So I want to take a moment to give you a sense for what I mean when I say what defines you. I want to propose something that's goofy, and I know it and you know it, but it will work for what we're doing. What if each of us had a tattoo on our forehead, visible to everyone with whom we came in contact? And that tattoo had just a couple of words, whatever it turns out to be, that tells the reader, the person with whom we're interacting, what defines us. What is the core of your being? And I'm going to tell you what I think my forehead tattoo would say, and I'll tell you why. And I'm simply doing that as a demonstration. I want to give you a pretty clear sense for what it is that I want you to do when you answer this question. So, if I had a forehead tat that defined me, it would have 3 lines. The top line would say war dog, the middle line would say Christ follower, the bottom line would say dad. Now, those things are profoundly important to me because indeed they define me. They shape everything that I do in my life. The reason that I would present them in that order, top, middle, bottom, has nothing to do with their importance or their significance. It has to do with when those things occurred in my life. The war dog thing was first. I went in the Army at the age of 19. I was only about maybe 3 months short of my 20th birthday. But I went in the Army at the age of 19, trained relentlessly, 7 days a week, hard, for 15 months, and then deployed to Vietnam. So when I went to Vietnam, I was 21. I was there for a year, which was a normal tour. For the bulk of my tour, for 8.5 or 9 months, I was a reconnaissance platoon leader, which defines me. I led men in combat, a small, tactically self-sufficient group of men. We spent 9 months in the bush, sleeping on the ground. That experience was stunning in its impact on me. It wasn't just that I was in harm's way, but that I was leading men in combat. Every decision I made had critical implications. They were often time compressed. I had incomplete data or no data. Lives depended on it. Accomplishing a mission depended on it. So what I learned about decision making, what I learned about collaboration, what I learned about teamwork, what I learned about discipline, those things are lifelong imprints. My time as a reconnaissance platoon leader in Vietnam defines me. That has shaped how I've gone through life for the last half a century. So the first line in my little forehead tattoo, war dog, started at the age of 21. The Christ follower line, the one that would be in the middle, I grew up in a family that followed a pretty significant faith tradition, and my faith was relatively strong until I left the Army. I voluntarily separated from active duty at the age of 23. And I'd been in for 4.5 years, and I just wanted to do other things. And my faith, it just resonated in everything that I did. It impacted me positively, but for reasons that I'll never be able to explain, I drifted away from my faith. For the next 15 years, from age 23 to age 38, I just was directionless. And I can't tell you the number and the magnitude of bad decisions and poor choices I made because I wasn't guided by biblical principle. I just made so many stupid, bad decisions. All of them almost are regrettable. But the point is I survived. Now, when I was 38, I met a woman, a sweet girl in Atlanta. Her first and middle names were Jan Valerie. That's how she liked to be called. And you don't get her last name. That would not be good behavior on my part. So Jan Valerie and I were dating, and the truth is we didn't date long, but she was important to me for a few months. And Jan Valerie's dad was a Presbyterian minister. And she asked me very early in our dating relationship if I'd accompany her to church. And I will never forget what I said to her. I said, I'll do that, Jan Valerie, because you asked me, but I'm certain that I will be the beneficiary. In advance, I knew that I would benefit. So I started attending church with Jan Valerie. My heart was touched. 5 weeks later, I accepted Christ. I was born again at the age of 38. Christ came into my heart that time, and that time it was a deliberate, conscious decision. It wasn't something that I grew up in, and it was just part of the family activities or behavior. So, at the age of 38, I became a Christ follower. And though I am deeply flawed and imperfect, I am loved and I am forgiven. And being a Christ follower guides everything I do. And yes, I screw up, but as I say, I have a sense of direction. I have a sense of clear purpose and a pretty firm foundation. So the Christ follower is the middle line in my forehead tattoo. And the dad thing came at 44. I told you these things came in order of time, not any kind of order of importance. I was married as a younger man, not really young, but like 31 or something like that, for 6 years. And then I was single for 11 years. Maybe I guess that's what it was. And then I remarried my precious wife Elaine when I was 44. And we're coming up on, but not quite there, we're coming up on a 30-year marriage. And I'm loving it. So when I married Elaine, she'd been married once before as well. She'd been in, I guess, maybe a 5-year marriage. And apparently the last year of her marriage, her first marriage, she and her husband had a child, but that in no way improved the relationship, so they dissolved. They split apart. Now, when I married Elaine, it was a year and a half later, and her little man, Zachary, was a little bit over 2. But I raised Zach. He's not my biological son, but he is my son. I changed his poopy diapers. I fought the homework wars with him. I taught him how to shoot, how to ride a dirt bike, how to work on engines. I hope I imbued really good values in him. But my point is, when I became a dad, when you become a parent, and it's highly likely about 70% of you will become parents. When you become a parent, your focus shifts. You're no longer important. In fact, your spouse is still profoundly important, but your child becomes the center of your life because your child is wholly dependent on you for everything. For care, for nurture, for food, for shelter, for spiritual growth, for character development, everything. Your short kid relies on you. And being a dad is the most important thing I will ever do in my life, ever. Much more significant than any other accomplishment that I could ever point to. And then, of course, Elaine and I had a daughter a few months later, my precious Macy, who's now a senior at Southern. And the dad thing is just, it consumes me. Being a dad is the most important thing I will ever do. So, my forehead tat says, War Dog, Christ follower, dad. Those 3 things define me. And I'm just telling you that because I want to demonstrate to you what I'm looking for. So, again, your answer is uniquely personal. I have no idea what defines you. But you do. And this question is part of your final exam, and it's going to provoke you to think about that, to reflect on it, and to articulate a response. You may never have considered that before, but it's time. And it's fair to say that what defines you can change later in life, can't it? War Dog at 21, 17 years later, Christ follower. 6 years after that, dad. So I don't dispute that what defines you may shift later in life, but I'm requiring you to declare. Tell me what you think defines you, not describes you. No interest in your athletic skills or anything like that. What defines you? So that's Q1. Q2 might be less personally intense, but it is profoundly important. Most of you, by virtue of this being a Principles of Management class, most of you are probably sophomores. I could have access to the role, but I'm not that inquisitive. I've got way too much going on. So if I'm right, if most of you are sophomores, that means that you probably have 2.5 years left of your college experience. And you're at a point in time where you can make some powerful choices that impact probably the next 15 years of your life. And in 15 years, I want you to look back and celebrate the decisions you're making now. In 15 years, I don't want you to be recovering from the decisions you're making now. So here's Q2. What do you think your probable early career path will be? Turns out that Q2 has two parts. What do you think your early career path will be? The second part is, how do you think your choice of a college major will support that choice? So the first part of the second question is, what do you think your early career path is going to be? The second part is, how do you think your choice of major or emphases or minors or double majors, whatever you decide to do while you're here, how do you think your academic choices will support your early career path? Not 15 years out, not becoming an entrepreneur, not becoming a philanthropist, not becoming a billionaire. Don't be goofy with me. Tell me about your early career path. You may say, well, I think I'm going to major in accounting, but I'm really interested in the hospitality industry or the recording industry or manufacturing bulldozers or whatever the case you might be interested in. What do you think your early career path will be? What's your expectation now? You're only looking into the future 2.5 years. And how do you think your educational track will support it? Now, while you're thinking about that, what I'm going to say now is sort of an artifact of the times we're living in. Today is 3 April 2020. It's the first day of the statewide lockdown. I think we call it shelter in place. I've read the governor's executive order, and it's really fairly porous. There are many things that we can legitimately do if we need to go into town to grocery shop or get fuel for the cars, or in my case, more ammunition or something important like that. So there are a lot of things that we can do that are lawful, but of course the whole point is to flatten the curve, to stop the number of people who are contracting the coronavirus. So this is the first day of a 10-day statewide shelter-in-place order. Now, you know that this coronavirus has disrupted this nation in ways I have never seen over the last month or so. Entire industries, not segments, entire industries have been destroyed. Think about the travel industry and everything that's related to it. Airlines aren't just grounding their fleets, they are retiring and disposing of older aircraft. They're not fuel efficient, they are ready for major overhauls, which would be costly, and they are simply retiring the planes because they don't think they'll ever need them. They are furloughing or laying off tens of thousands of employees. The cruise ship industry, at least in the short term, is tanked. Nobody's going on cruises. There are a number of cruise ships that are just literally drifting around in the sea, just enough forward speed to maintain steerage until they can find a port where they can disembark their passengers. And that's a challenging thing to do. Every event with more than 10 people, bars, restaurants, weddings, sporting things, all sorts of stuff like that, anything that's event-based is gone. Food service is gone except for takeout or drive-through. There are no bars. There are no dance clubs. Y'all probably see me at the Blue Moon Cafe. Is that what it is? Blue Onion? Whatever it is over there by the stadium. I'm there a lot. You know. In fact, I should probably figure out what the name is before I say silly stuff like that. So, hotels, restaurants. I mean, the entire hospitality industry has just been torpedoed. Look around today and see who gets to go to work. Who's an essential worker? My wife is a CPA. She has a letter, firm letterhead, signature of the managing partner that would say to any law enforcement officer, this woman indeed is an essential employee in an essential business and she needs to be able to go to work. That was just a sort of a preemptive move that the partners in the firm made. Who is an essential employee? I still get to go to work. I'm still being paid. But I know restaurant owners that they've been closed for 2 weeks and they're not sure they'll ever be able to reopen. Think of the employees who've lost earnings, who are worried about making car payments and mortgage and all the other things that go with that. These are destructive times. Frankly, I think that the media has hyped this thing up in ways that are unimaginable. And because the media has done that, government employees and politicians have reacted in ways that are defensive. They don't want to be attacked. They don't want somebody saying, oh, you don't care about people. So they're making all these boneheaded decisions, destroying lives and businesses and entire industries. That is sad, but that is an unfortunate reality right now. So, as you're thinking about a career path, I wonder if you should weave into that thought, am I going to choose an essential industry? Is what I'm doing critical? Does this society need what I'm doing? Or am I trivial and insignificant and I can be dismissed? So again, I don't care if you deal with what's a critical industry right now. I'd just like you to reflect on that as you answer the question. So Q1, 3 words. What defines you? Please reflect on that. Please write thoughtfully. You can't get it wrong, can you? But you have to present it to me well. And the second question, 2 parts. What is your probable early career path? What do you think you're going to be doing when you graduate? And how do you think your educational track supports it? So we're done. I love you. I'll talk to you all soon. Be safe. Be well.